pretty common human experience to kind of feel divided within yourself. Like you've got this good side and a bad side, or you're loving sometimes, but then other times you're full of hate. And then there's this like constant battle between your mind and body.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's this feeling of being pulled in opposite directions that really creates a lot of internal conflict.
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we're going to explore why these seemingly opposite parts of ourselves can't really ever be reconciled.
Yeah.
And we'll be looking into the roles of the mind and body and what happens when we identify too strongly with one or the other.
And ultimately, we'll talk about how true freedom comes from recognizing this one true self and the role of the Holy Spirit in helping us do that.
So according to the Course, this idea of a fragmented self is an illusion. So why don't we start by taking a look at the lesson itself?
Sure. Salvation comes from my one self. Although you are one self, you experience yourself as two, as both good and evil, loving and hating, mind and body. This sense of being split into opposites induces feelings of acute and constant conflict and leads to frantic attempts to reconcile the contradictory aspects of this self-perception. You have sought many such solutions, and none of them has worked. The opposites you see in you will never be compatible, but one exists. The fact that truth and illusion cannot be reconciled no matter how you try, what means you use, and where you see the problem must be accepted if you would be saved. Until you have accepted this, you will attempt an endless list of goals you cannot reach, a senseless series of expenditures of time and effort, hopefulness and doubt, each one as futile as the one before and failing as the next one surely will. Problems that have no meaning cannot be resolved within the framework they are set. Two selves in conflict could not be resolved, and good and evil have no meeting place. The self you made can never be yourself, nor can yourself be split in two and still be what it is and must forever be. A mind and body cannot both exist. Make no attempt to reconcile the two, for one denies the other can be real. If you are physical, your mind is gone from your self-concept, for it has no place in which it could be really part of you. If you are spirit, then the body must be meaningless to your reality. Spirit makes use of mind as means to find its self-expression, and the mind which serves the spirit is at peace and filled with joy. Its power comes from spirit, and it is fulfilling happily its function here. Yet mind can also see itself divorced from spirit and perceive itself within a body it confuses with itself. Without its function, then it has no peace, and happiness is alien to its thoughts. Yet mind apart from spirit cannot think. It has denied its source of strength and sees itself as helpless, limited, and weak. Dissociated from its function now, it thinks it is alone and separate, attacked by armies massed against itself and hiding in the body's frail support. Now must it reconcile unlike with like, for this is what it thinks that it is for. Waste no more time on this. Who can resolve the senseless conflicts which a dream presents? What could the resolution mean in truth? What purpose could it serve? What is it for? Salvation cannot make illusions real, nor solve a problem that does not exist. Perhaps you hope it can. Yet, would you have God's plan for the release of his dear son bring pain to him and fail to set him free? Yourself retains its thoughts, and they remain within your mind and in the mind of God. The Holy Spirit holds salvation in your mind and offers it the way to peace. Salvation is a thought you share with God, because his voice accepted it for you and answered in your name that it was done. Thus is salvation kept among the thoughts yourself holds dear and cherishes for you.
So the lesson really starts off with this powerful statement. Salvation, or true freedom, comes from our one unified self. And right away, it acknowledges that very common human experience of feeling divided inside, which leads to, well, inner conflict.
Exactly. That feeling of being torn between opposing forces, like good and evil or mind and body, that's presented as the very root of all our inner turmoil. And it's not just that these opposites are different, but that they're fundamentally incompatible. So trying to reconcile them, well, it's always going to be a losing battle.
I see. So it's kind of like trying to see one object with double vision. The problem isn't with the object itself, but with how we're perceiving it.
That's a great way to put it. The battlefield we're experiencing, it's not actually real. It's a trick of our perception.
Interesting. So the Course is saying that recognizing that we can't really harmonize truth and illusion, is a crucial step towards freedom.
Absolutely, because without this acceptance, we're stuck in this endless loop of trying to fix something that can't be fixed. We keep trying to blend what's real with what's not, wasting all this time and energy and ending up disappointed again and again.
Makes sense. So by accepting that truth and illusion can't mix, we free ourselves to look beyond that fake conflict.
Right. And it allows us to shift our focus from the symptoms, the feelings of division, to the actual cause, which is this false perception of separation.
Okay, I got it. So the lesson also dives into the roles of the mind and body, suggesting that they each have a specific function. Can you elaborate on that a little?
Sure. So the mind, when it's in tune with spirit, it's like this powerful tool for expression and a source of pure joy. And its strength comes directly from the spirit, allowing it to function in perfect harmony.
Okay. And just to clarify, when we say spirit, are we talking about it in a, traditional religious sense?
Not necessarily. In this context, spirit can be understood as the part of us that's always connected to our source, representing pure awareness and love. So the mind is the tool that can either align with that true nature or get caught up in the illusions of the physical world.
I see. So when the mind identifies too much with the body, that's when it starts to feel separate from the spirit, leading to fear, limitation, and all those conflicts we talked about.
Precisely. And the lesson makes it very clear. We can't fully identify with both the mind and body at the same time. Choosing one diminishes the other in our perception. It's like trying to be in two places at once.
So if this perceived duality, this feeling of being split in two, is the root of our suffering, then what is true freedom, according to this lesson?
Freedom or salvation is recognizing that one true self, the identity that exists beyond all those dualities. It's about waking up to the reality of our wholeness, a wholeness that's always been there, just hidden behind this veil of illusion.
So it's not about achieving this wholeness, but rather remembering it.
Exactly. It's like uncovering a hidden treasure that was always ours.
I like that. And the lesson also describes freedom as a complete thought, one that we already share with God.
That's right. And this brings us to the role of the Holy Spirit.
Right. So what is the Holy Spirit's role in helping us recognize this one true self?
The Holy Spirit is like our inner guide, residing within our minds, holding the key to this recognition. It's the bridge between our mind and our true self, gently leading us toward peace by helping us remember our true nature.
So it's just kind of like a gentle nudge in the right direction.
Exactly.
Now, the course also provides a practice exercise that relates directly to this lesson.
Yes, it does.
Can you tell us more about that?
Of course. Lesson 96's practice exercise focuses on this affirmation. Salvation is a thought you share with God, because His voice accepted it for you and answered in your name that it was done. Thus is salvation kept among the thoughts your self holds dear and cherishes for you.
Let's hear the full practice exercise.
Salvation is a thought you share with God, because His voice accepted it for you and answered in your name that it was done. Thus is salvation kept among the thoughts your self holds dear and cherishes for you. We will attempt today to find this thought, whose presence in your mind is guaranteed by Him who speaks to you from your one self. Our hourly 5-minute practicing will be a search for Him within your mind. Salvation comes from this one self through Him who is the bridge between your mind and it. Wait patiently and let Him speak to you about yourself and what your mind can do, restored to it and free to serve its will. Begin with saying this: salvation comes from my one self. Its thoughts are mine to use. Then seek its thoughts and claim them as your own. These are your own real thoughts you have denied, and let your mind go wandering in a world of dreams to find illusions in their place. Here are your thoughts, the only ones you have. Salvation is among them. Find it there. If you succeed, the thoughts that come to you will tell you are saved, and that your mind has found the function that it sought to lose. Yourself will welcome it and give it peace. Restored in strength, it will again flow out from spirit to the spirit in all things created by the Spirit as itself. Your mind will bless all things. Confusion done, you are restored, for you have found yourself. Yourself knows that you cannot fail today. Perhaps your mind remains uncertain yet a little while. Be not dismayed by this, the joy yourself experiences. It will save for you, and it will yet be yours in full awareness. Every time you spend 5 minutes of the hour seeking Him who joins your mind and self, you offer Him another treasure to be kept for you. Each time today you tell your frantic mind salvation comes from your one self, you lay another treasure in your growing store, and all of it is given everyone who asks for it and will accept the gift. Think then how much is given unto you to give this day that it be given you.
So this exercise encourages us to actively seek that unified self within. And by embracing the thoughts of that self as our own, we can discover that true freedom that's always been there.
Right. And there's this beautiful reassurance in the text that this journey, this search for our true self, it can't fail.
That's comforting to hear. But, sometimes these concepts can feel a little abstract. So how can we apply these ideas from Lesson 96, in our everyday lives? Like, let's take something common, like an argument with someone. How can we use this to help navigate conflict?
Well, The Course reminds us that this idea of two separate people in conflict, it's an illusion. So instead of getting caught up in our differences and trying to be right, the focus should be on recognizing the underlying unity between us.
So it's about seeing the other person not as an opponent, but as a reflection of our own inner state.
Exactly. And by letting go of that need to be right and looking for common ground, that's when the conflict starts to dissolve. And repeating that affirmation from the lesson, salvation comes from my one self, can be incredibly helpful when you feel the urge to attack or defend.
That's a good tip. Now, what about stress and anxiety? A lot of people struggle with those feelings, whether it's because of work, finances, or relationships. How can this idea of the unified self help us find peace in those situations?
A lot of times, anxiety comes from over-identifying with the limitations of the body and all the perceived threats of the world. So by consciously shifting our focus to the unified self, the spiritual part of us that transcends all those worldly concerns, we can cultivate a sense of inner peace. Taking time for quiet reflection and repeating that affirmation from the lesson can help us reconnect with that deeper sense of being.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, what about guilt and shame? Those feelings can be really hard to shake. How does the Course's perspective on the self address those emotions?
Guilt and shame often stem from this belief that we're separate beings who are capable of being flawed or unworthy. But the Course says that our true self, the self created by God, is inherently innocent and perfect. So recognizing this allows us to let go of that self-punishment and shift our focus towards learning and growing. It's about moving on from past mistakes without feeling inherently inadequate.
So it's about recognizing that we're not defined by our past actions.
Exactly.
Now, we've talked about conflict, anxiety, and guilt, but what about when we're faced with tough decisions? Those situations where we have to weigh different options and the future feels uncertain. How can we apply these principles to decision-making?
When we're faced with those tough choices, the Course recommends quieting the mind and seeking guidance from within. It's about letting go of that need to control the outcome and trusting that the right path will reveal itself. And remember, decisions made from a place of love, they will ultimately lead to peace, no matter how things might look on the surface.
So it's about surrendering to something greater than ourselves.
That's right. Trusting that we're being guided even when things feel uncertain.
So beyond these specific situations, are there any daily practices that can help us remember this unified self?
Absolutely. Things like mindfulness, forgiveness, and gratitude, they can all be incredibly powerful. Mindfulness helps us become more aware of our thoughts and feelings so we can gently let go of the ones that cause us pain. Forgiveness, both of ourselves and others, allows us to recognize the illusory nature of perceived wrongdoings, promoting healing and understanding. And gratitude, it shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have, cultivating a more positive and unified perception of life.
It sounds like by consistently practicing these principles, we can really transform our daily experience from one filled with conflict and fear to one that's more peaceful and joyful.
Exactly. It's a journey, but with each step we take towards recognizing our true selves, we move closer to that lasting peace and happiness.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Lesson 96, I want to leave you with this question to ponder. How might your daily interactions and your inner experience change if you truly embrace this idea of a unified self, recognizing the interconnectedness that exists beyond all illusions of separation? It's a question worth reflecting on.
It is indeed.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time.